Just finished the live. Looks like we got about, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 inches of snow on that. It's just been dumping all day. It's going to be beautiful in the trees today. Oh, it's going to be gorgeous tonight. So, when I built the deck, I don't think that I took into consideration how deep I should have gone for the pads on the stairs. So I was in the cabin, boy, after the first real big cold streak that we had, and I heard a pretty loud pop. And I wasn't aware of what it was, and it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that I realized that the deck has raised 4 inches on this side. So I did an extremely good job of nailing those stairs in, because when that rose, it pushed this whole side of the deck up. But at least when I make a mistake, I'm consistent, right? Because that one did the same thing. So if you stand back and you look, I've got a curve in that deck right there. Because the middle post is no problem at all. It's sitting flat right where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to have to look at this again and reevaluate it in the spring when we hit our breakup and everything starts to thaw up, because I need to come up with a better solution for these stairs, and I have to re-secure the deck down in the spring from where it popped up. But I mean, you can feel it too when you're walking up here. Let's see what we got here. As I'm uploading the video for the 5th of January, I was kind of brought, or it was kind of brought to my attention, by myself while I was looking at it, that people may wonder, well, that guy looks like he's hung sheetrock before. What's he talking about? So I've done some patching of sheetrock in the past. But I've never done a room. I've never hung this much sheetrock before. And one of the things that I really firmly believe about, this entire project is that every single stage of this build has taught me how to do something for the next stage. If that makes sense to you. I watch a lot of videos. I watch a ton of videos on YouTube before I do any project whatsoever. And having some experience now with the framing and with the sheeting, the sheeting on the outside and doing a roof and framing these walls on the inside was easier because I'd framed the building, and framing the loft was easier because I'd framed everything kind of builds on itself, if that makes sense. So, just suffice it to say that I've never done this before. Not to this extent. I still get a lot of comments on the one video that I did about, man with zero experience build a cabin off-grid in Alaska. I get a lot of comments from people saying, you have experience. I didn't. I have no experience. I still today. I went to pick up the paint for these rooms, and I walked into Sherwin-Williams paint store, and the guy goes, what can I help you with? And I go, look, I need to paint a kitchen. From everything I looked at, square footage wise, it's only going to take a gallon, but I need a gallon of good paint for a kitchen, white. I don't care what shade of white, I just need it to be white. And I need a gallon of primer, because my thought was I was going to prime the walls first. And he goes, well, what are you painting over? And I said, it's just raw sheetrock. And he goes, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, so the gallon of primer first, and then I mean, I've painted bedrooms before, but I've never painted raw sheetrock before. I've never done this. I ask a lot of questions, and I'm not afraid to ask them. So what I'm doing here is I'm running my hand across the transition between where I've mudded and the raw sheetrock, because I want a really smooth, I want a seamless transition from here to here. Okay? And there's some like rough spots. When I see a rough spot, I get in there and I sand it a bit. And I'm far enough away from the tape now to where I'm not worried about hurting the tape. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to sand all of these down, and then I'll grab the cell phone and I'll show you what I have. Because you really don't need to watch me continually sand. I'll show you what I have, and then what I was looking for. I do have some rough spots down in this part too, and I think I can clean those up. My thought is that if I can get this transition smooth everywhere that I've taped, when I put the paint on, you won't be able to see any transitions at all. And that's my thought on this process. We'll find out though, because one way or another, I'm going to show you guys when I'm done, whether it worked or not. One of the things Ward mentioned to me, Ward was over the other day, he said it looked good. He said it looked like I did it right. But one of the things he mentioned to me the other day is that I could actually soak this sponge in water. This is a sponge sander. He said I could soak this in water, and then that would really knock down on the amount of dust that I'm going to get everywhere. And I opted not to do that because I figured it was also clog the sponge up when I was done. And then I'd be constantly rinsing this down. Also, I have this other sander, right? And this I got for the big areas, because when I watched the video, it showed them doing the big areas with one of these. But one of the things I noticed was it took a lot of material off, and it took it way down. Whereas I have a lot more control over this smaller sponge. Now, if I was doing this whole house, I would probably lean on this one a lot more. Obviously, you don't want to do this for an entire house, but just for the kitchen, I think this is going to work out good. So we'll be back in a bit. I'll show you what I got going on, and then we'll look at the next stage, which is painting the walls this weekend. But I like the smoothness here. I have like zero transition right here at all. I mean, it just feathered right out. I also had to wait a few days to be able to get these corners, because it took the sheetrock an awful long time, or the mud an awful long time to dry in these corners. And I wanted sharp, crisp corners when I'm done, even though my plan is to have cabinets over this back wall. I wanted to make sure that everything was nice and tight when it was finished. Not bad at all. I am very satisfied with that. Oh. Plug a light in here. So I'm going to clean all this up today, and I just got up. I didn't just get up, I've just been laying around drinking coffee this morning. But I'm going to clean all this up today, clean off the walls, dust them down, and then paint everything. But I'm going through the comments from the video where I first put the sheetrock up on the walls, And a couple of things came up that I wanted to address. One of the things was, dude, you put way too many screws in that. I know I did. Matter of fact, my son-in-law actually commented back, what, did you have a sale on screws at the orange store? I didn't even look to see what a pattern was for screwing on sheetrock. I'm sure there is one, but I just kind of started going and I just kept going. The other question I have is, a lot of people were commenting, no electrical outlets? So I'm off grid. I'm 100% off grid, right? There is no electrical coming into the property. There's no services coming into the property at all. And I've been that way on the property and in the trailer for the last, 3 years, or for the first 3 years that I was on the property. I don't have any electrical appliances. So I have no need for electrical outlets anywhere in the kitchen except for one location. So this wall, no need for any electrical appliances at all. This wall, no need for any electrical appliances at all. Lighting is 12-volt lighting, so that's all going to come through these rafters here before I close in the ceiling. I am probably, though, going to put 2 receptacles on this wall, and behind this wall is the pantry, and that's where my electrical stations are going to be, right? So that's where all my, my battery, inverter, and all that stuff is going to be, or batteries and inverter and that stuff. And the only reason why I'm putting any electrical on this wall at all is because I need an outlet down here at the bottom for the refrigerator that's going to go right here. And I've kind of decided that I'm just going to use a regular household refrigerator. They're pretty darn efficient right now. And they're a lot cheaper than buying the off-grid refrigerator freezers. And then another outlet on this wall in case down the road I may want to use any electrical appliances. So when I make a pot of coffee, I use a French press. I do it on a stove. I don't have air fryers, don't actually like them at all. I don't like most of the electrical appliances that you'd have. A toaster would be nice, but a toaster uses a ton of electricity. So I just throw my toast on top of a cast iron, my bread on top of a skillet, cast iron skillet, and toast it that way. It's just as easy for me. So that's why there's no electrical outlets anywhere in this room, but there will be 2 over here. That was like the biggest question that came up in that video. So I'll put one down low for the refrigerator to plug into, and I'll put one above the counter, both of which I will put in after I get the countertop set so that I can get the height right. I want to make sure that I have them where they need to be above the counter, as opposed to, or where I'll have it above the counter as opposed to putting it in now and knowing Sean's way of measuring, screwing everything up. So with that said, I'm gonna get everything cleaned up in here, dust everything down, vacuum up all the dust, and I have dust everywhere. So if you're gonna do something like this, do yourself a favor. If you're living in the place, I probably should have hung a piece of plastic up here just so I didn't have the sheetrock dust going over, but I don't mind cleaning. I'm gonna get everything cleaned up and then I'll start painting, get the painting done, and then move on to the next thing, which more than likely will be the ceiling in here, and I have a plan for that as well. So let me get cleaned up and get started. coat is dry. I'm going to go ahead and do a second coat on it. You probably don't want to watch me paint, so I'll come back after I'm done with the second coat and we'll take a look at it then. But, I mean, overall, it looks pretty decent. And we'll see if the second coat hides any of the bleed through that I'm seeing from, like I'm seeing a little bit here of the texture or the mud underneath, but it's really smooth. So let's get a second coat on there and see what we come up with. I can't get the house warm today either. It seems chilly. All right, plug this in so I got some extra light. And I'll walk through here with the cell phone and show you a little bit better, but this is 2 coats of primer on the wall, and I am beyond excited for how well this turned out. I mean, I'm blown away. My corners, inside corners, are nice and sharp. There's a couple of areas that I can see, but I'm not noticing them that much, and I couldn't have asked for this to turn out any better than it did. For a first ever attempt at sheetrock and mud. Nice. All right, first coat. I might do a second coat only because I have so much paint left over. It's kind of surprising. It's only taken like a half a gallon to do this, and you know, like everything else, I've never really painted. I mean, I've painted bedrooms before, but I've never really painted them to the point where I really want a beautiful coat when it's done. So I'll stand back here because for some reason the cell phone always seems to get a better picture. Shoot, I want video. That's white. That is very, very white. I like it. I like it a lot. Really brightens up the inside of that. Crazy. I'll show you how much brighter the kitchen is now. All right, 1 light in here, and I still plan on putting 2 more. Yeah, so I'll put a second coat on it. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. But there's only, you know, so much paint you can watch dry, right? Okay, I have a perfectly clean room over there, and I have an absolute disaster over here. I need to fix this. Okay, that's a little bit better. Tomorrow I'm going to tackle this mess over here, which is kind of hard for you to see, but I'm pretty happy to have at least a semblance of a kitchen back. And my living room back. It's nice to see the floor again. Good morning, ladies. How are you this morning? The rest of the United States is really, really cold, and this morning we're at 32. Look at how well the black Australorps there, the black beauties as Karen likes to call them, have feathered out since their molt. The red hens are looking good too. Chickens are doing surprisingly well. Oh. It's a pretty day today. Some blue sky getting ready to peek its way through. That'd be kind of nice. Not much snow on the roof at all. A little breeze, not bad. Oh, I think I'm going to fire the truck back up again. I warmed the truck up every day, whether I'm at work or not, because too many times I have left it off for a couple of days and been unable to start it on Sunday. So I think I'm going to make sure we'll start it up again. Use the remote start. I didn't have the defroster on, I only had the heater on. There we go. It'll run for about 15 or 20 minutes before it turns itself off. Hi ladies, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Get you up there so you can see them. 48 takes me right to the middle of this stud. Which I think would be far enough.
Good up there.
It will be right here. 48 would be right here. Should be fine. The only other question I have is how high I'm going to go. I might just put another sheet up there because 3 feet. 4 feet, and there's 6 feet. So I might take it to 4 foot. Just to the bottom of this would be fine, I think. 4'8" or 5'8". And it doesn't really matter how much block I have because I want to get at least that much coverage. And I installed this backwards. So this part, this flat metal piece goes on the outside. And then the ring that I have outside goes on the inside. And that's where you adjust everything at. So that's why there's a gap here so that I can adjust it for whatever I have on the wall underneath it. Whatever I decide the finish is going to be, that will open and close, and I can get some adjustment, I guess, on the outside a little bit too, but that allows me to get the right gap that I need here. I have all this taped up. I might have to remove some of that again, which is fine. I've got plenty of tape to get the second piece up, but I'm trying to get some of this stuff cleaned up and out of the way and get done with some projects because I need to figure out how to start building kitchen cabinets, and I'm going to need room to do that. So if I can get this done, I can slide the wood stove, well, if I can get the wood stove, if I get this done and the rock installed, I can get the wood stove moved over to here, even though I'm not going to be using it right now. I can get it moved over to here and out of the way to open up some more room on the inside here. Because building cabinets is going to take sawhorses and precision cutting and a lot of that stuff from what I can see, and I'll need much more room to be able to pull that off. Be nice to get all that cleaned up. I mean, I could probably still do all that over here, but it's pretty crowded. Cool. So light's a premium in here, obviously, especially this time of year. find myself having to use a headlamp on occasion as well. There and there. And then once you get the original seam started, you just pop it down. Then I need to flip it up and cut the back loose. So this concrete board is made with a mesh. Which adds strength. Also makes it pretty darn easy to cut. Okay. Do that factory edge on the bottom because it's got a nick in it. That's actually pretty darn good right there. That's crazy close. Down there. That is pretty darn secure. Cool. Let's go. Oh, 32. Where you at? Easy. There we go. Oh yeah, very bad. All right, I'm going to run one strip down here on the end and then get everything swept up and move on to the next step. I have a different plan for over here to the door. This is basically a heat shield for behind the wood stove. Normally, a lot of times you'll see it where they do an air gap and then they mount these boards on there, but I didn't feel I needed that because my stove's going to sit out a little bit from the wall. So I don't think that's going to be a big issue. Hopefully I'm right. Hopefully the place doesn't burn down. this is honestly the only reason why I bought this plywood. Just for this next phase here. Nice. All right, sweep that off. We'll clean up all this junk over here. You ever build puzzles? Well, that's what I'm getting ready to do. I'm getting ready to build a 4 foot wide by 5 foot puzzle. So, join me next week when I start to lay this whole thing out. I'll be messing around with it over the next couple of days. But my thought process here is the wall is 4 feet wide, the sheet is 4 feet wide. I know how tall the length is, and I've got all that stone. I want to go ahead and lay everything out first to see how much stone I actually have, whether or not I can cover that whole area. And if not, what I'm going to do to tweak the design and the pattern to make it work with the stone that I have over there. I'm Sean in Alaska. Thank you guys as always for watching. Thanks for the constant support. We'll see you next week. I'm going to get this other junk off the floor.